to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadosh, double honors, the elders and apostles, the great millstone, who are teachers of this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yahakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Rakah the Yahweh, Rakah the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadosh, Rakah. So, hey, sedition among men, right? You know, and we're seeing that. And like everything else, though, it is most likely a staged event, but they say that they got the shooter, and you know, that Trump was hit, you know, is what they're saying. Nonetheless, though, man, we're in them times, man. The hopeful year, all prophecy come to pass, aka the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. So, Salakia, that was last year. But you can see, though, that definitely this was a staged event, and they're saying that Secret Service was weak because possibly Biden compromised them. Now, if you know anything about Antiochus Epiphanes and Nero in the previous lifetime, that wouldn't be too far-fetched. But, you know, this is what's happened. Trump injured during shooting incident being investigated as an assassination attempt. Well, yeah, that's what it's made to look like. Now, like everything else, this is another angle as we look at it.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
So that's another shot, another angle of what happened. Former president and current presidential candidate has been injured during shooting incident in which 2 people were killed, including the shooter, and 2 others received critical injury. He was then seen holding his hand to his ear and falling to the ground behind the podium, after which security team escorted him off stage. So, like everything else, so, you know, these are the headlines. I mean, this is what you're mostly going to see, but there are other things going on, such as a bombing on Damascus. A lot of times they'll do events like this to drown out what's really going on, right? Secret Service agents rushed former president from the stage during a campaign event in Butler. Former U.S. President and Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump has survived an attempt on his life by a shooter at a public rally. Gunshots were fired during Trump rally in front of thousands of supporters in Pennsylvania on Saturday. And of course, like everything else, though, the bloodstains were seen, you know. And the update is that he was injured.
Take a look at what happened.
I believe this is just, yep, this is just about the same thing as the previous ones. So, like everything else, though, this is mostly what's going to be talked about. But this is where it gets more interesting. Police ignored repeated warnings about gunmen, eyewitness claims. Eyewitness claims to have tried to alert police's Secret Service to the presence of the gunman repeatedly before he opened fire. So, like everything else, though, this is also a video, and the brother's already broken this down, so I'm just going to play it from his.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
And listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here, I have no idea, you know. But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here.
Where they paid to stand down.
He's crawling. And Next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes?
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, we just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
Wells Fargo has donated 60 million.
So, like everything else, though, that just seems though that they were purposely ignoring it. You know, you know what else is new? You know, except that this seems to be a staged event. You know, and you always when there's other things going on, sometimes it's a distraction, but it's looking like, you know. See, here we go. Musk slams lack of Secret Service protection at the rally. Of course Elon Musk would weigh in on this, you know. Tesla, an ex-social media platform owner, CEO, endorsed Donald Trump's bid for re-election, taking the opportunity to also criticize the former president's Secret Service detail after an apparent assassination attempt at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. So, like everything else, though, you know, were they compromised? Did somebody take a bribe? Did the police take a bribe? You know, would be a good question to ask. But like everything else, though, this is weighing in a little bit more. Hopefully YouTube allows this portion on there because, again, you know, I know RT's banned from it, so Slovakia if this gets taken down, but we're just going to go ahead and play it anyways.
Across to former U.S. Army officer Stanislav Krapivnik to discuss this incident. Stanislav, shocking really this happening, isn't it? I mean, who would have expected it? But I want to talk a little bit about the Secret Service. I mean, in your assessment of the Secret Service work here, I mean, how did they really do their job? Did they really do what they had to do?
First of all, as far as who would have expected it, anybody that's been paying attention should have been expecting this. Come on, they not only did they demonize the man, they tried to bribe him, they tried to blackmail him, they tried to put him in jail. They can't stop the main opponent, so the only thing left is murder. Look, I'm not in the U.S., so I'm not under. A lot of these guys, I'm going to say what a lot of these guys want to say, but they can't say because if they do, they're going to have the FBI knocking down their door. This is an assassination attempt by the Biden administration to kill off their main opponent. They're trying to do everything they can to stop it. And now they've gone to what's left is murder. The Biden terrorist regime, and that's what it is, those pigs will kill women and children on beaches. You think they won't kill their main political opponents? Of course they will. The way the NSA is supposed to work, they're going to get there a week before any kind of rally. I mean, these rallies aren't spontaneous. They're well planned and ahead. They're going to get there. They're going to identify all the possible avenues from which the candidate can be put into danger. There's one building to the side, 150 meters away. The next building in front is some 300 plus meters. They're going to identify those buildings, identify windows, they're going to identify roofs from which somebody might be able to shoot. They're either going to put their own people in those areas so nobody to deny access, or they're going to put snipers covering that. The fact that there was no one on the roofs, the fact that snipers responded only after 5 shots were fired, it's not just piss poor performance. These guys are professionals. This is specifically done to allow the assassination of a candidate.
Yeah,
the people saw the guy coming in there, and they still did nothing.
So there you have it, man, you know, and that's just looking at it from perspective, you know, that would Antiochus Epiphanes do something like this to Nero? Well, that's a trick question because if you know the history about Antiochus Epiphanes and Nero, this does not take anyone by surprise, but here we go. Here's what's also happening, because this is the Valley of Yehoshaphat. Russia can help achieve peace in a long-running Middle East conflict, aka West Asia. Moscow is likely to play a significant role in the budding dialogue between Turkey and Syria. See, like everything else though, the scriptures tell us when they shall say peace and security, then come the sudden destruction. And I believe that's really talking about a certain event where Damascus is taken away from being a city and becoming a ruinous heap. That's one prophecy that hasn't happened yet, but yet that would spark World War III if Damascus was taken away. So, you know, that's why, you know, you got to look at these scriptures very carefully. But also, that would draw everyone in, because who's been firing upon Syria this whole time and using proxies to do it? The United States, aka Babylon the Great, and of course its counterpart, the Israeli state, the least of the flock. It has been almost 12 years since relations between Turkey and Syria took a shit for the worse. Once good friends, President Erdogan and Bashar al-Assad quickly became sworn enemies in the border conflict between, well, because Turkey was influenced by the West. The conflict became yet another consequence of the Arab Spring, which we know that that was all paid for by the Obama administration, who said Assad has got to go when they went on that campaign, which swept through Middle East and North Africa like a storm in 2011. So, like everything else, though. However, after years of confrontation, Russia, which came to the Syrian president's aid in 2015, prevented the legitimate authorities from failing to the onslaught of opposition and terror groups financed and supported from abroad, helped Damascus restore relations with many countries. First and foremost, Moscow facilitated the improvement of relations between Syria and the United Arab Emirates, unlike Qatar, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, took a more moderate stance. Then through the joint efforts of the United Arab Emirates and Russia, official Damascus returned to the Arab fold, the Arab League, and began normalizing relations with other Arab countries. So, like everything else, though, you know, it said that Magog would be a guard unto him. This is biblical prophecy, and it's been happening for some time. And I got one more here, but this is what took place at the same time. Syrian soldier killed, 3 wounded in Israeli strike on military site in Damascus. So this is what happened. The Israeli state continued their bombing on Damascus, while everyone else was distracted with the assassination attempt, which is a good distraction, but it looks like that was done deliberate. As we know that, yeah, Biden can do that. Of course he can. 1 Syrian soldier has been killed and 3 others injured while Israeli aircraft carry out a strike against military installations in a residential building in southwestern part of the capital of Damascus. Syria's official agency, citing military source, reported that the Israeli aerial assault took place midnight Sunday and targeted military sites and a house in the Kafar Sosa neighborhood. The Israeli enemy carried out aerial aggression from the direction of the occupied Syrian Golan, while Syrian Arab Army's air defense systems intercepted the missiles launched by the Israeli terrorists and downed some of them, the military source said in a statement. So, we know who the terrorists are, and no doubt it's Amalek, the least of the flock. So, you know, that's a brief on what's happening now. Like everything else, though, you know, we're... Actually, I'm going to bring out 2 Esdras chapter 15. Because we are talking about sedition among men. Let's see here. Yep. I'll just start from 2 Esdras chapter 15 and verse 14, because we're in those times now. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. See, like everything else, though, they released that movie, Civil War, and what better divide than during a presidential election, right? For there shall be sedition among men, and evading one another, they shall not regard their kings or princes. Well, an assassination attempt is a fine example of this. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And that's exactly what can be seen on them videos. Man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, so the sedition is going to get worse. For because their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Like everything else, though, it's going to turn up, it's going to get worse. This has been deemed the whole full year of Jacob's trouble. Man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. You know, when everything does crash, yeah, man, they're going to ravage and they're going to steal everything from you. So hopefully this has been edifying, and like everything else, though, it's a little bit longer on the other channels, you know, as I just want to keep everything going on YouTube as long as I can. So hopefully this has been edifying. For that, I'm going to say, Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kadosh, Wa Abba Babal. Brakathum to Yehovah Elect. Shalom.